Live from the Smash Studio on the campus of Boise State University, this is 3 Qs and You. And here's your host, Professor Dan Garrity.
Thank you very much, Hank Rawls, best broadcasting voice of any biology major I've ever heard of. Thank you so much for tuning in to 3 Qs and You. It's an interview game show where teams of Boise State University students are going to compete to have their insightful questions chosen by our special guest, and he is an absolute gem. He's got a podcast devoted to something so near and dear to my heart, education. He's been a second grade teacher for 20 years, and I'm really happy to introduce him to you. Brian Martin, hello. And welcome from all the way over in New York. It's way over there. I appreciate you staying up with us. Hey, do those second graders remark on your celebrity at all when you come into class?
Not at all. I'm the least celebrity person to them. They spend all day, every day with me, so not at all.
We've had some conversations before, Brian, and I have the 18 to 22-year-old population. You've got about the 6 to 7-year-old population, and yet we talk about a lot of parallels in what we do. What's the same?
I think the process of learning is the same. That it's all about understanding the process, how to communicate. Mm-hmm. I think that learning is a big piece of that is communication. And how you communicate with a 7-year-old might be a little bit different than how you communicate with an 18 to 22-year-old, but you're still
only slightly.
It's pushing outside the comfort zone and just getting them comfortable. And we've talked about getting used to failure. I think whether it's a 7-year-old or an 18-year-old, that message that failing, that's how we learn. That's the whole process. It's the feedback loop.
In fact, don't you say something about that to your students every morning?
Yeah, we have a little mantra every single day. And so every single day we go through this whole process, and part of that, we call ourselves the superstar scholars. We're 7 years old, they dig it, so they get into that. But we say every single day the superstar scholars make mistakes, show grit, work hard, accept feedback, be grateful, and then we go on from there a little bit. But then after that, I go in a little spiel and I say, who's gonna make mistakes with me today?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I say, you better raise your hand. I'm going to make multiple. And the kids used to raise 1 or 2 hands, but now they kind of get a little silly with it. They'll lean back in their chair and they'll put both hands up and both feet up because they want to say, we're making all these mistakes today.
Yeah.
And then I heard on a podcast the other day, it was a business podcast. And but he was talking, and we started introducing this to the class. We say, fail fast, learn fast. So I'll say to the class, we're going to fail fast, and then they'll answer back and they'll say, we're going to learn fast. So just keep planting that seed.
I absolutely love that, and it just seems like you've also created a really unique community in that classroom, and I think that's where the absolute best learning takes place. Are you ready to get started with 3 Qs and You, sir?
Absolutely.
All right.
I watched the show, and I got to say, you guys do a fantastic job. I tried to do my homework.
Oh, there you go.
I really enjoyed it so far.
Fantastic. That we have split my class into 3 teams, blue, orange, and white. Whoever wins, by the way, doesn't have to clean up the studio when this thing is over. And they have collected questions from your second graders, Brian, and they have chosen some ones to hit you with. So here we go. First round called Not Teaching. Again, these are questions from Brian's second graders. I love this. Question number 1, why did you become a teacher? Question number 2, if you weren't a teacher, what would you do? And number 3, what do you do when you're not teaching? Which one of those would you like to answer, Brian?
I guess I'll go, why did I become a teacher?
Why did you become a teacher? Congratulations, Team White, you're on the board. So 20 years ago, what was it that made you get that decision?
Yeah, and you know what? I feel for the young people, excited for the young people, but when I was 18 years old, coming out of high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like, I knew I wanted to help people, but that was it. All up until that point, it was all about basketball. Like, I had a deep love for basketball, but there's not a big demand for mediocre, 5'9", unathletic kids out there. So my career ended after high school, and so I knew I wanted to help people. I went to community college, and I just took computer degree, computer science, because I figured you could use that. And then I went for police. After that, I transferred to a 4-year school and wanted to go into criminal justice. And I got in those classes, and I just realized that didn't fit my personality. So I'm in the gym one day playing basketball, and I'm still at that school and just lost and thinking, what am I gonna do? And I'm playing basketball against this kid, and I don't know if this sounds great or not, but he was telling me all about elementary education, and he goes, as a man, you'll get a job just like that. Because I think in the elementary field, there's only like 10%. And I've never taught outside of like the specials, like music, gym, art. I've never taught with another male teacher in the building. So, and my mom's a teacher, my grandma was a teacher, and, I've worked in summer programs. So I guess that's that conversation right there, being lost, but always knowing that in some way, shape, or form, I wanted to help, to be with people and do that. So that's how it happened.
After 20 years, or with almost 20 years of experience, it seems like you could say, I'd like to try junior high, or I'd like to try 4th grade. You've stuck with 2nd grade the whole time. How come?
I guess it was, so I started at kindergarten, I moved up to 1st grade, and then the 2nd, and you know what, I guess it was just, I got comfortable there, and I enjoy it. And I enjoy the kids and the process. And I'm still, I say I'm perfectly average. That I'm still working on trying to become great. So there's stuff that I want to master that art form. And for a long time, I guess, I coached varsity. I was assistant coach for varsity basketball. So I got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Where I'm with the young kids every single day, but then I was with the high school, the sophomores, juniors, seniors, and being on the basketball court, you could have a different relationship with the kids than you could have right inside the classroom. So that was pretty special.
Excellent. All right, Brian. Next category, outside of work. First question, what sports do you play? Next, did you have a pet when you were young, and what's his name? And number 3, what was training like? And I think they're talking about military training. You did a stint in the Army, as I recall. So out of those 3, what's your choice?
I guess I'll go, probably the most interesting one out of that would be the training for the
training,
military.
Yeah. So what was your job in the Army?
So it's interesting when you join the Army Reserves. I was in the Army Reserves. That you basically have to stick around your area. Within a 2 to 3 hour drive for the most part is recommended. And so you're based off of the jobs that you were in your area. My job was basically to build pipelines for the fuel. And when we got activated, because I did a tour over in Iraq, they changed our job. So they made us truck drivers. And everybody goes through basic training, and you go through all of that with just being introduced to the Army, learning those foundational skills and everything. And then you get the job training. And when they trained us to be truck drivers, the neat part was, they flew us down to Alabama. They put us, we did training in Indiana. And it's just learning how to drive semi-trucks and haul, whether it was hauling tankers or you had the big flatbeds, and whether it's broken down vehicles or they put big Connex boxes on the back that they filled up with different things. And so it was exposed to a lot of things that I never would have just being a teacher.
Did it change you at all, that experience?
In a way, I definitely think that you go through life experiences and it changes you. You know, I was blessed. My cousin was an infantry soldier, and we both went to Iraq. And I think his change was a lot more dramatic than my change, just because of, you know, everybody, you hear about Iraq or whatever, everybody has different experiences over there. And his experience was completely different than my experience. I guess what I got from that is such an appreciation for what we have here, because we live in it every single day, and we're so blessed, we don't even realize what we have. You know, I would drive, and being a truck driver, so we would go from either south to Baghdad all the way to the Turkish border. And you're driving through these towns and littered with IED holes. You drive past these buildings that are just shot up with, you know, because they've experienced some sort of violence. And the kids are just walking around because that's the natural world that they've had to grow up with. And, you know, I always tell my students, because sometimes around Veterans Day, they had me give a little presentation to the kids and stuff. And some, you know, the big thing is I always say, like 99% of the people over there, they're moms and dads, and they just want a good life for their family. And I think that's what all of us want. So I guess appreciation for what we have here, appreciation for being blessed in so many ways, and our freedom and our safety, that we, for the most part, you know, I tell my kids, we're lucky that we can show up to school and not have to worry about anything.
That is the coolest thing in the world. I'm just really, really enamored with the kind of culture you're creating there and the kinds of things that you share with your students. So that was the Whites question. So White is in the lead 2-0. However, round 3, the wild card round, this one is worth 3 points. So this could be the difference maker. Wild card round. Now these questions, Brian, come from my students. All right, here we go. What's been your most embarrassing moment while teaching? What would be your dream vacation spot? And how many second graders could you beat in tic-tac-toe?
You know, I'll go with, I think everybody probably appreciate most embarrassing moment.
Oh boy,
so
I know I would.
That to everybody.
So what was it?
Yeah, most embarrassing moment, I guess. So my first year, you know, I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I'm 23, probably had no business being a kindergarten teacher. Like, that's the toughest. Your skills have to be so, and it sounds crazy because everybody's like, oh, they're 5 years old. You're right. They're 5 years old. You try and get 25-year-olds to fall in line and do everything perfect. Those kindergarten teachers are magicians. So it takes a lot of skill, So I didn't really understand that. I was green. I think everybody goes through that learning process, that huge learning curve. So I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have the skills. And so the first fire drill, and your students probably don't know about kindergarten cop. You might know kindergarten cop, but Arnold Schwarzenegger goes in and he's doing the kindergarten class, and they have that fire drill. And he's running out. I think he has 2 kids, you know, holding them up, and everybody's just running out of the building, and all the teachers are looking at them and everything. And I would say that is about what my first fire drill looked like. You know, we didn't practice as much as we should have, and that bell rang, and it was a catastrophe.
I trust you haven't lost a soul yet, so that's awesome. And holy mackerel, that question was from the White team as well. So congratulations, White team. You don't have to clean up. Brian Martin, thank you so much for being on. One last question for you. You are a social media influencer. I have found such value in the things that you have to say. Well, social media influencers are supposed to get their networks to do something. What do you want the people who listen to your message to do?
you know what, I think, and hopefully, like, all the people that know me in my personal space would say that what I say, whether it's on Twitter or in the podcast, is authentic. I guess it is to be positive, to care about each other. Book that I'm reading, it's a teaching book, but it's called From Dr. Jody Carrington, and she has this quote that she says, and she basically says, I think it's from Ram Dass, and the quote is basically, we're all here just to walk each other home. And, you know, I think showing each other grace, how we approach the problems in the day. I think Gary Vanderchuck, and I think that your crew down there would know Gary V, that I was listening to him sometime, and he was saying, you know what, everybody makes these problems so much bigger than what it is. All right, we get consumed with negativity. He said, you know what, in life, 99.9% of your days, if you look at them, are really good. And I know he talks about his own parents. I know that I can pick up my phone today after this is over and I can call my mom and dad. That I'm on this podcast, this episode with you right now, and I have my health. You know, I'm married, my wife has her health, and that's good. We can be upset about the problems, but most of them not that big when you look at the big scope of stuff. But we take those many things and we make them so big, and we get caught up into the negativity. You know, on my Wednesday podcast, I always say we've been blessed with another day.
I love that.
And that's the truth. We've been blessed with another day or another sunrise. You know, we don't know what tomorrow brings, but today's a gift.
Again,
I guess
Brian,
that would be it.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that positivity. The podcast is called Teaching Champions. I would recommend that you be one of the thousands of people who's influenced by it, like I am. Thanks again, Brian Martin. Get to bed. You got some second graders to wake up for tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. I'd like to thank our crew as well of Media 316, led by Ani Mechikoff. And we hope that you stick around for another episode of 3 Qs and You. Good night.